So last time we managed to build a really simple ASCII game example, right? And we are able to move our character around and read the map from a file, right? So that's interesting. I mean, yeah, you can see that when I try to select the text, it flickers because we draw this thing on each frame, right? So yeah, the only issue is that we can go to walls, and I would like to not be able to do that because yeah, makes sense to have some collision detection. So let's try to do that today. Let's try to add the collision, so you cannot move on top of certain symbols. Let's say we'll have like a list of obstacles or something, and if you try to move on top of that, you cannot move there. So that would be the goal. And obviously that will also help with going off screen, because yeah, if the map is gonna be built using like a file, so a separate editor, then we don't have to worry about going off screen. So that's the goal for today. So let's check our file. So we have some symbols here for like the player, the floor, the wall, and so on. Then we have these defines here, these macros for coloring each symbol. So the player is going to be yellow, and the other stuff as well. Right, we have some movement keys. I mean, I'm still gonna think about this enum. Maybe we don't even need it. Maybe we can just use the define, but that's a story for another time. Okay, so because it will make parsing easier, and yeah. But for now, let's try to build a function for collision. So maybe it's gonna be something like can move, or maybe it should be, because we can extract this thing out, right? Yeah, why not? And then we can check if the new position of the player is valid or not. But how would that be? Yeah, like handle input, maybe it would be a nice function. Well, I guess damn. Yeah, we can like take the input, and that would be it. I was just thinking of what if you press this thing. But yeah, so I mean, we can start with a really simple function for checking if a position is valid or not. So let's just say is position valid, and probably we need, or I guess is move valid, and we should probably take a world as an argument, and maybe a direction, and direction should be one of these things. So it's gonna be a char. So a char, let's call it input. All right, so then we can just copy paste this stuff. Right, so if we try to move up, down, left, right, we might want to take in, yeah, because I don't really want to change the player the actual player position, so we might want to have something like player, I guess, int player row, which is going to be equal to world player row, and assign int player column, which should be the player column, let's just say. And here, instead of changing the actual variable, we change just this stuff. But I mean, I guess move player world move player, I don't know, something like this. Right, so now we can check if the new position is on top of maybe like floor or trees. I guess if, as long as you're not on a wall, you're fine. So, but for this thing we need to compute the index in the tiles. So let's have index, and the index should probably be player row. So on which row are we, multiplied with the width of the world, right? Because our world is going to be a rectangle, so width, and we add player column. And now we can check if the tile is good or not. So we have tile kind, and now we can say this dynamic array get, and here we need to pass in the dynamic array, which is going to be world tiles, the index, which is index, and the reference to our item. Oh, this one needs to be a reference as well. So yeah, I mean, this one can you know, throw an error, but we don't really care about that right now. I mean, probably I'm gonna do error handling and freeing of memory off screen, because it's they are not features, they are just, you know, taking care of the code. But yeah, I mean, those are important, but not right now, right, for getting stuff done. So we got the kind, right, and if kind is equal, I guess if it's not equal to wall, it's more useful. If it's not wall, maybe different names for this thing, but should I say tile kind wall, tile kind floor? Not sure if that's the way of doing it, but yeah, whatever. So if the kind is not a wall, then it means that we can actually make the move. So we can update the player row with player row and world player column. And yeah, I mean, I said that maybe we want this to be an array, or I guess, you know, have certain options. Yeah, whatever, we can keep it like this. So if you're not on a wall, it should do this kind of stuff. So let's try to rebuild it and run it and see if we can go. Well, I mean, I'm not I'm not calling the function, so obviously right, so I'm gonna put, instead of all of this stuff, right, instead of this part of the if, we can do world move player, and here we pass a reference to the world and the input. Now we just have to make sure that, well, in case, yeah, so it shouldn't matter. But now say we cannot move on top of the walls. So I guess as long as we have walls around our map, we won't be able to escape the bounding box in a way. Yeah, I think this should be fine. Yeah, seems to work. Pretty cool. All right, so the next thing would maybe be to add some kind of enemies or some kind of interaction with the world. But yeah, I mean at the same time, you know, in a way I really dislike the tile kind. I don't know about you, but it feels a bit weird. I mean, something else that I don't like is that these are strings and not characters, but that's because, you know, it's easier to do it like this. But yeah, I mean, it is what it. Well, I mean, as far as I know, I don't remember a way of converting a character to a string easily in C. But yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to switch the symbols, except that we use these characters to also parse the text. So maybe we want a difference between what we use for parsing and what we display. But no, that would be a bit annoying because we want to keep the same format. Like if we check the word.txt file, we want, you know, oh, it's an S symbol. This is a player, right? Like, would be weird if we have different symbols for printing and different symbols for reading. That wouldn't make sense. So I think that's fine. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah, moving the player pretty easy. Like the idea behind it is we make a copy of the current position, we change that copy, and if the new position is valid, then we update the original, or I guess the world position. So yeah, that's an easy way of doing it. So yeah, I mean, I guess the only nice thing about using an enum here is that in this case we can use a switch statement, but at the same time, I mean, you know, enums in C are not that powerful, but still works, still works. So I guess in a weird way it might make sense to keep these as an enum, because it gives you, I don't know, it makes it a bit more strict in a way. Yeah, I mean, let's keep it like this. You know, if I would have used Rust, like using an enum obviously makes sense. Like it's not even a question about it. So yeah, then let's just say that. Yeah, I mean, yesterday I said that I can show you how to do this without global variables, so let's try to do that. Maybe it's an interesting topic to cover. Alright, so if you know about pthreads, you know that like obviously this is a thread function, right? So this is gonna run on a separate thread, and I'm not sure if there is such thing as no. Really? Pthreads manual or something. I thought there was a pthreads. Maybe I'm just stupid. Anyway, like the way, well, maybe we can look at the documentation for pthread create. Maybe this will help. Yeah, so we can see that the start routine, this is the function that gets executed on a separate thread. It's the signature looks really weird, but this is the return type, so it's a void pointer, and this is what it takes as an argument, so another void pointer, right? And pthread create also takes in the argument that we want to pass to this start routine, and no, for now we put here a null, which makes sense. We don't have any arguments. Like if we take a look at our function, we don't have any arguments, so it's fine. I mean, it also takes some attributes, but we don't care about it, and some thread ID, which we are gonna use to write. Okay, like sure, makes sense. But what, because here, I mean, it's also a bit weird because we only have one function, so using a global variable makes sense. We don't need any mutex, we don't need anything because it's gonna be a single thread function, right? So yeah, it's not a big issue, but sure, it would be way cooler if we have here like char input and maybe we can have more things, so like a structure that we pass in. But yeah, what if we don't have this input variable? It's, I guess it's the only place where we use it, so that's the only place with errors. What if in here we have void pointer arg? So you can see that it's called arg, I guess. So let's just call it arg. Right, so we have argument, and I think I'm gonna use a structure just to showcase how to use it. So let's say type def struct input, why not, input d. So our input structure is gonna have just a char, so a single character, for the key that was pressed, let's say. So maybe last key press. I mean, obviously it's not that great of input handling. I guess the best way to handle inputs, if you remember the Arduino project that I did like 3 months ago, we were using interrupts for handling input from buttons. But yeah, here we use getChar, which not the best way, but for a CLI game, makes sense. So would be something like last key, right? The last key that we pressed, basically. So yeah, let's call it like that, last key. Right, so here we can imagine that the argument is actually of type input, right? So we have input the input, and we cast our argument to input the pointer. So I get, oh, it's I'm sorry, it's input pointer, right? So here we can actually say last key is equal to this stuff, and then last key is going to be equal to Yeah, quit. That should be enough, right? So now if here we pass the address to our structure, so let's just say input the input, and we pass the address to input, this piece of memory is going to be shared between our main thread and the thread that runs an infinite loop, right? So that's the idea. So now if we access what's at this address, so actually the value of the variable, we should see something that changes, right, from a separate thread. So yeah, I mean, as long as we know what we are doing, we don't need any mutex, you know, it's unsafe Rust, but it's safe for us. So if we access last key, we should probably see the changed value, right? I mean, maybe here we can pass input. No, well, I mean, last key is fine. So let's see if we recompile the thing, what happens. It still moves, which pretty cool, right? So we avoided using global variables, and the character still moves around. I mean, I'm really curious when we are gonna have a bigger map with all sorts of stuff. Like an inventory maybe. It's gonna be cool to have an inventory with a list of stuff and some keybinds. Okay. So yeah, that's basically how we can handle the memory, right? So instead of using a global variable, we just use a piece of memory, and in a weird way we use that memory as a global variable, right, if you think about it. So yeah, now let's try to go in the world.txt file, and I'm just thinking, like, in the rogue, it was like Adam, like on the YouTube video. I linked the video on the, but yeah, it looks like this now. But it was like ASCII in the video that I saw. I understood nothing from it, but what I saw is that the enemies are letters, and I was thinking, like, it's really hard to figure out which enemies are easy and which are difficult. And my idea, like the brilliant idea, is to have, like, letter A is the easiest enemy, and letter Z, well, Z is the hardest enemy. Like, you know what I mean? Based on the alphabetical order. That's pretty lame, but could work. So in that kind of way, maybe also having different, like, symbols could be different terrain things. Like, for example, the trees are AND operators. We can maybe have, obviously, the dollar symbol for some kind of trophy or money. Maybe the percentage, what can the percentage be? The star can be like stone or something, like rocks. Well, maybe stars can be points, right? Some kind of waypoints. And exclamation point can be something like maybe objectives, right? Question marks can also be interesting to think about it. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what features we can add in the game itself. But yeah, it's gonna be it feels a bit painful on editing levels like this, but yeah, I remember from a video from Zoding, he did like level editing in Paint basically, so that's an option. But I think for this kind of game, an ASCII level editor is fine. I don't see an issue with it. Anyway, so yeah, let's add our first enemy, like an A, the easiest one for now. Huh. Well, we can even have rules, like because it's an enemy, right? We know that there are gonna be letters, so we don't even really need a define for it. Oh, but then this the parsing breaks. No, it's fine. The parsing is fine. So we are gonna have here an else if, and I'm pretty sure there is a function for is alpha from C type, which checks if a character is alphabetical, I guess. So if it's alpha, and here we can pass line str column, I think this should return 1. So if it's an alpha, then we have enemy. And yeah, now it's gonna be interesting because we have here enemy, but we don't have a way to store information in the enum. So that's maybe a reason to have something more than just style kind. Maybe have a structure. So type f structure. But yeah, this is also interesting because that's just a tile kind. It's not necessarily an enemy. So if we found an enemy, then the tile kind should be floor, right? And we should add the enemy to some kind of list of enemies. That's where maybe the idea of having some kind of decorations would be interesting. But yeah, let's just assume that all the enemies and the player can only spawn on floor, right? They cannot really spawn on top of trees or water or anything like that. So yeah, that can make sense. So then for the enemies, we might need another array which is gonna store positions, I guess. Like that can make sense. So let's just check what happens if we run this, right? We don't see the enemy, but it's a floor, right? So that's how we parsed it. So yeah, in fact, we need some kind of another array for the enemies. That's the only way to do it. Right, and maybe we want to have a structure for 2D vectors. So type def struct like vec2. Well, x, y, and maybe we call it uvec because it's unsigned int vec. Right. And yeah, maybe instead of the player row and column, we can use a uvec2 player, maybe player pose, and let's see where we need it. So here is going to be player pose x, player pose y, although y is usually the row and x is usually the column, so yeah, player position y, player position x. Yeah, so let's see what else happens here. So this is the printing. Player pose y, player pose x. Right, and then we have the parsing. So player pose player position x. Okay, we have something. And yeah, now that I have the player position, I just had an idea. What if we have also something like an enum for the character kind, and here we have, I don't know, like player and enemy or something, right? Something like that. Like just thinking, well, yeah, not really that important, but maybe just to have a structure for like an entity, like a movable entity. So let's call it entity. Like an entity is going to have uvec2 position, right? And entity. So that's how I imagine an entity to be like. Maybe also have a symbol, like a char symbol that is used. Yeah, but then we also need some kind of this stuff, like the color. So maybe a const char for that. That could work, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, like having the position, having a symbol, maybe the color. Right, and instead of this thing, we can have entity player, right? So we have a separate entity for the player, and another option is to have maybe enemies as a separate array. Right, something like this. I guess this could work. And yeah, I guess maybe based on the symbol we can decide if we want to use this, like this color, which is a yellow, I guess, or if we want to use red for the enemies. I don't know, so, different colors. So that could also work. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? Because maybe we can have void entity print, and here we get an entity e, and we can do something like if e dot symbol, and I don't know, this thing is like an at, or this thing is like this stuff right here, we use this color or something. Right, something like that. Like this would be my idea for having an entity. Okay. Yeah, maybe we want to keep them as characters and have these things separate. Yeah, why not? Maybe it's gonna be better. So let's just say player color, then define reset color is gonna be something like this. Player color, then we have floor color, wall 3. Yeah, I'm really curious if you can combine multiple things like this. So you want to make it 32M and also color the background or something. That's gonna be an interesting thing to see. But yeah, for now let's just keep it like this. Again, like maybe tile kind is not really needed if we have a define with characters. Maybe no, I would keep some suffix at the end just to know what it means. But yeah, maybe the tile kind is not needed anymore. So we have an entity, the symbol, and what if here for tiles we have char. Like sure, in a weird way, we can type def char to be tile kind if we really want to. Keep it a bit more abstract, but it's gonna be a single char for the tile kind. And then we have the UVEC, the entity, char symbol, and then we have like a show implementation on top of our entity. So if I don't know, something like e dot symbol is equal to player character, then we print f, then we print f %s, %c, %s, right? Because we need player color. Well, I guess it makes sense. Player ch, reset color, right? Something like this. And otherwise it's an enemy, so we have to print it as such. Let's just do player color. Let's have enemy color, and my guess is that this is black, 31 is red if I remember correctly, so it's gonna be enemy color, e.symbol, and the reset color. So that's how we print an entity. Makes sense. Oh, we can even have a function for tile kind. Tile kind print tile kind t, let's say, and I guess e dot if t is equal to, and here we have multiple options. We have floor, wall, and tree. Floor ch, then we do something, then if we have wall ch, we do something else, else if t is equal to 3ch, we do something else. And then we have another case, for unreachable you can use the as panic, forgot about it. So unreachable, let's just say. Okay, and yeah, to color them we use again this kind of stuff. So floor color, and here we use floor ch, right, wall, no. So yeah, we moved all of this in a more modular thing, a bit of refactoring, I might say. Yeah, so at this point we can fix the stuff with position, right? So here we try to move the player, and this could be wall ch, position. Okay, so we update the position if we are not on top of a wall. And yeah, I mean here, sure, we can add a list or something, makes sense, but not important. Okay, the world print is gonna be, let's leave it as the last one, and let's check now the parsing. So for parsing we can, I mean, we no longer need the str compare thing, we can just check which is much better. We can just check characters themselves. No. So position, we set the player position when we find the ch character, and the kind should probably be ch. Okay, this one is for ch. Let me just do something like that. So this one is floor ch, wall, this is 3ch. Interesting. And the last one, I guess, if is alpha line str column, then we still use wait, floor ch. Yeah, so that's how we parse it. So yeah, in the end, this thing is just gonna be a string, but we use style kind as a type. Okay, so now let's take a look at printing. Easiest one, I mean, not necessarily the easiest one, but yeah. So we do position, we have entity print, we print the player entity. Yeah, kind of works. And on the else case, we do tile kind print, and the tile kind, oops, it's a kind, right? It's kind. I guess, yeah. Interesting. I mean, I guess that's all. The compile assisted refactoring. Oh, we don't see the player. I'm wondering what went wrong that we don't see the player. I mean, the enemies, obviously we don't see them, but I'd like to see some information from parsing. Printf. Yes, row column. And we don't need anything from this point. I mean, it's parsing the player correctly. Huh. Let's do world print right here. It's not printing the character, like it's a bit, let's say here. Let's print something just to check that. Yeah, it gets there. That's good. Oh, I forgot something. When we parse the player, we need to set a symbol to player ch, right? That's what I forgot. Yeah, so now things should be fine. Yeah, we cannot go out of bounds, we can move on top of stuff. So let's try to parse the enemies, right? So that's the next thing. So if it's an alpha, we set the kind to floor because it's a floor, but we need to create an entity E, then E dot, I guess E dot position dot Y is gonna be row, position dot X is gonna be column, E dot symbol is gonna be line str column. So it's this one. Oh, it's interesting. I could have used position. Can I do? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool to initialize stuff like this. Maybe we can have entity init or something. Makes stuff a bit easier. Wait, entity init. I guess we can return an entity. Why not? No, whatever. Let's leave it like this. So then we want to DS dynamic array append, and we pass in world enemies, and here the address to E, and that's how we add an enemy. Wow, I was trying to format, but no. Okay, I mean, kind of makes sense. So when we print the world, we also want to go through the enemies list on the else case, for example, and print the enemy. So on the else case, let's have an enemy found or something. I mean, yeah, we kind of need that. Int found or I guess show tile is equal to 1. If show tile, then we do that, and here we want to do index is, I mean, we need another one, j equal to 0, j is less than world enemies count, j plus plus, entity e is dynamic array get. So we try to get from world enemies, the index is j, and address e. Obviously this needs to be a pointer, right? Okay, I mean, so far so good. I guess show tile should be false, and what we want to do is entity instead. Right. Well, I mean, that's a mistake. I should do if row is equal to e dot position dot y, and column is equal to e dot position dot x. Right. That's how we do it. Yikes. What? So probably segmentation faulted where here. Whoops. Oh, it's 6. That's interesting, not gonna lie. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, what? Oh, I forgot to initialize the dynamic array. Enemies. So this should be entity. Yeah, forgot about that. So maybe, and it works. First try. I mean, almost first try. So we have enemies now. I mean, we just display them, I guess. But it's still a pretty cool concept so far, I would say. What we need now is to make them move around, let's say, like follow the player or something, have a radius or something that they see, follow you and be able to attack. And yeah, I guess we also need an inventory right now to be able to hold weapons and stuff like that. So yeah, that's maybe something that we have to think about how to implement. Some kind of inventory system. But yeah, I guess for today it was pretty decent progress. Pretty happy with this. Yeah, I mean, I showed you how to do the input without global variables. I think that's pretty neat to understand. Like if you're able to understand this kind of stuff, it's easy to understand pointers, but I mean, maybe it's the other way around. Probably it looks like black magic for a beginner, but yeah, hopefully it helps. Like if you saw the variant with the global variable and now this one, maybe it makes more sense. Yeah, parsing, yeah, sure. I mean, we can combine the player with the enemies into a single list. The only reason why I don't want to do that is because I would need to search for the player here, and right now we have the player like separate, so that's easier to work with. Not that searching the player would take that long, but yeah, I would still keep it separate, like the player can be separate than the list of enemies. Yeah, why not? Let's just leave it like that. Then we have the print, which it's pretty simple right now. We just have enemies to display. In the future we'll add more decorations, let's say, on the world. Yeah, maybe the trees themselves are gonna be decorations, like resources I meant. So trees, stones, something like that, gold, and you can build weapons with it, or maybe buy them from a market or something, right? Some kind of, yeah, it maybe it turns more into an RPG than but I mean it's still a roguelike game. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to read input like this from arrow keys. Yeah, like 1 2 3 4 is gonna be easy. Shift, it's impossible to read it, like that's why we need interrupts. But yeah, I think this works. And what's nice about that is we can add the G enemy, like straight up. We don't need to add any changes, so like it's gonna be more powerful than A, obviously. And even uppercase letters, the H enemy. But yeah, I mean, seems pretty interesting for now. Yeah, so yeah, I guess let me know what you think so far about the idea. If you have any ideas on top of that, would be appreciated. Like this can be, you know, um, can go in many different directions, let's say. So yeah, I mean, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like and leave some suggestions for what the enemies should be like, what they should do, what collectibles we can have around the map, like resources, and how the inventory should look like should it be a list on the side and you can, you know, press 1 2 3 4 to switch between items like weapons. Yeah, I mean, displaying the weapon on top of the player, not really sure. Like imagine having a sword, so we can see it like this, but it's gonna take more than one space and it's gonna be difficult to do that. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, for today I think that's everything, so I'll see you guys in the next one. So see you.